Welcome to Sunnyside Vlogs. And today we are going to count some of the symbols possessed by the Kadangyan or Wedi people in Ifugao. Early Ifugao culture had a ranked social organization based on kinship. The Kadangyan were the elite landowners of rice fields, the Tagu were Kadangyan relatives who did not hold elite status, and the nawotwot who were considered poor work for the Kadangyan. Ifugao status was seen through the size of their rice fields, material things they owned, the feasts they performed, the attires and jewelry they wore, and their roles in the community. Land. In the early 1990s, the Kadangyan possessed a sizable areas of irrigated rice field, at least more than 1/4 of a hectare. But the actual land possessed was not the most significant factor in determining the wealth of the families among Ifugao people. Rather, it was the ability to produce enough for one's family to be able to eat rice for 3 meals per day, every day, until the next harvest, and possibly to have rice left over to pay people for labor, to sell, to loan, or to use for rituals and community events. Rice was the most highly valued food product in Ifugao. Water buffalo skull. Houses as architectural structures and symbols of group cohesion convey important meanings to both community members and outsiders. The Ifugao Bala house as a structure expresses the political and economic status of its owner. The number of feasts sponsored can be determined by a count of the pig and water buffalo skulls that adorn the walls of the Ifugao Bala. Adorning the walls of the Ifugao house is a garish collection of skulls of various animals. Immediately noticeable is the huge skull of a water buffalo. The various animal skulls were a symbol of the wealth of the family. If the family can afford to sacrifice so many animals, it means they are wealthy. Kango or Yangingo, a hornbill skull and beak used as part of the headdress called kango, name of hornbill bird, that is worn by men during the Uyuy marriage ceremony. The kango headdress is composed of the skull and beak of the hornbill and decorated with beads, made of glass and sometimes seeds, feathers and a newly woven man's garb. The garb was worn around the head and the loose ends hang down reaching the waist. It was only worn by the Ifugao Kadangyan propertied elite. This is no longer produced nowadays since marriage rites are primarily celebrated by Christian priests. Some families incorporate traditional marriage rites in contemporary Christian marriage ceremonies. The Ulo Dikango is an Ifugao headdress worn on the head of the groom during wedding ceremony. The hornbill beak symbolizes a good omen and usually adorned to Ifugao headdress, especially those worn by the Mumbaki or religious practitioner. Juka or Chu-Kor, a bronze anthropomorphic figure attached to a small piece of wood. It is part of a headdress called dungdung, worn on the head of a woman during her marriage ceremony called Uyuy. It was only worn by the Ifugao Kadangyan propertied elite. The jukao is attached to the long unequal strings of beads, forming the headdress. This is no longer produced nowadays since marriage rites are primarily celebrated by Christian priests. Some families incorporate traditional marriage rites in contemporary Christian marriage ceremonies. Clothes and accessories. The wano or G-string is the traditional attire of male Ifugaos. There are 6 types of wano, which are used depending on the occasion or the man's social status. Ifugao women wear tapas, a wraparound skirt. There are about 5 kinds of skirts. Kadangyan, the wealthy, display the status in clothes and accessories restricted to the class. For men, an elaborate G-string, a tasseled hip bag, kidney-shaped gold earrings, and a headdress consisting of a turban-like cloth, hornbill skull, and water buffalo horns. For women, an elegant skirt, a tasseled belt, golden earrings, 4 bead necklaces, strings of white and red beads to secure their long hair, and a little brass statuette. Gangsa. A set of gangsa, or gongs, is comprised of 6 pieces or more, and each piece is made of bronze or brass. Each gong is beaten in different tunes by the gong players or musicians, which of course varies depending on their regional or local cultural preferences of the native origins. A set of gangsa would cost 1 carabao, or to put it simply, it costs a fortune. In the past, it is mainly the Kadangyans and the Apapo, the rich and the well-respected elders possess a set of this instrument, for reasons that these gongs are expensive but mainly regarded as sacred instruments. Nowadays, several indigenous peoples groups and individuals, universities within and outside the Cordillera region own sets of gongs. In the most popular festival in Baguio City known as Panagbenga or Flower Festival, you will often see groups of locals gathering in celebration of this abundant colors of different flowers. In events such as this, there will always be gongs played by the natives. In each and every performance, they dance with the different beat of the gongs. Each beat is distinct from each other, of which the collection of sound it produces vary depending on the province of origin. The 6 provinces of Cordillera, namely Benguet, Ifugao, Mountain Province, Apayao, Abra and Kalinga, are unique from each other. They can be distinguished from our different traditional attires, dance steps, dialects and several others. In spite of our differences and uniqueness, we are one in spirit as we dance in harmony when the men start to beat the gong. Hagabi. A bench that is only used among the rich Ifugao. Usually carved out of a single tree trunk, it is a symbol of wealth and prestige. The hagabi is not just a symbolism of wealth and power of the Kadangyan in Ifugao. It also symbolizes the love and generosity of the Kadangyan to the community. In order for an Ifugao to be considered a member of the upper class, Kadangyan, he must organize and pay for a public ceremony which involves several weeks of nightly dancing and feasting climaxed by a number of full days of eating and drinking. Then, having thus established his and his family right to this title, he must validate that right by giving another feast called the hagabi, also the term for a large wooden bench which is the ultimate symbol of Kadangyan rank. The form of the hagabi appears on spoon handles and coffins, and it roughly approximates the shapes of trinket boxes, priests' boxes, and carved segments of decorated shelves found in the homes of wealthy families. Hagabi feasts are generally held at a time of year when rice is scarce, example before the new harvest, a time when many members of the community are short of food. Prestige ceremonies of this kind, therefore, not only affirm the status of the host, but provide the opportunity to disperse food which is sorely needed. Do you have one of those? Please don't forget to put your comment or opinions down below if you know more about. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe for the next episode. See you.